Hi, I'm Audra Balion, creator of Flight 19, here on the True North Country Comics podcast.
Welcome to the True North Country Comics podcast, dedicated to celebrate Canadian comic book and graphic novel creators and supporters. I'm John Swinimer. On this episode, I chat with Audra Balion about her new graphic novel, Flight 19. Please like and subscribe to this website by hitting the subscribe button so be notified about new podcast interviews and article posts. This podcast is available wherever podcasts are enjoyed. Please like, follow, and subscribe. Based in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Audra Balion is an award-winning interdisciplinary artist. In 2013, she earned a BFA in studio art with great distinction from the University of Saskatchewan, where she studied in both the fine art and drama departments, and has since continued to work in many art spaces. In the world of fine art, she studied drawing with traditional and digital mediums, painting in acrylic and watercolour, several forms of sculpture, printmaking, mixed media, comics, performance art, and wearable art. In the world of theatre, she has experience in theatre design areas of props, sets, and costumes, acting, writing, directing, dance choreography, stage combat, and the making of and performing with puppets and masks. She's also worked as a graphic designer for over 7 years, using her knowledge of visual art to inform her designs, to create designs that are eye-catching and beautiful while conveying the correct tone and message. Previously, she provided illustration for Crown of Horns and was awarded Sequential magazine's Favorite Colourist Award in 2021. Her current work is a graphic novel, Flight 19. Flight 19 is a silent graphic novel that combines elements of steampunk, dieselpunk, and fantasy while exploring a world of twisted machinery, mutants, and magic. Readers will follow the journey of Andromaca as she joins the biomechanical revolution. Hoping to help her family, she instead discovers there's something far more ominous and dangerous going on. The revolution's ambitious leader, Oil, chooses progress over safety. Andromaca must decide if she will go free to protect herself or stay to save everyone else. So, without further ado, here's my chat with Audra Balion about her new graphic novel, Flight 19. So, Audra Balion, thank you very much for taking time to chat with me.
Thanks, John. Good to be here.
I appreciate your time. Before we get going with all the questions, I would like to know, what was the first comic book that you read?
It would be The Adventures, I think it was called. It was from the Sask Wheat Pool. So my dad's a farmer, so we got these, and they're like, the superhero was King Wheat, and the main villain was a grasshopper and stuff. It was pretty fun.
Wow, that's really localized and something I've never heard of before. I guess it was a very limited run?
Yeah, I don't know for how long they did it, but they stopped sometime in my childhood.
Well, definitely great stuff growing up, but I'm wondering who or what inspires you to create today?
I'm not sure if there's a specific who, just sort of a desire to make things in general. Like I love crafting with my hands all the time, whether it be doing sculptures or costumes or puppets or drawing and painting. I just think that like the act of creation itself is kind of magical and just exciting to do.
Great. Well, we're here talking about your latest graphic novel, Flight 19. I wonder if you could tell me, what is this story all about?
Flight 19 is set in sort of a fantasy steampunky kind of world. Andromaca goes to the big city to join the biomechanical revolution to try to help out her family. But there she discovers its dark secrets and has to decide if she wants to save herself or go back and save everyone else.
Was there any specific inspiration for creating your graphic novel?
I was in a printmaking class in university, actually, and one of my assignments was aqua tint etching. So you're basically etching aluminum in order to make a plate for printing. And so I had doodled up Andromaca, this sort of ethereal kind of woman. She's got 4 arms and a tail and a long neck and a weird helmet, and she's riding this sort of hybrid flying creature, which I've since named the Narbatros. So that kind of sparked like, oh, there's, who is she? and where is she going from and where is she going to and why. And from there, I started making some more pieces, different characters, and starting to tie them together into a narrative.
Your book has been labeled a silent graphic novel, and I'm wondering, why did you choose to make your graphic novel silent?
A couple reasons. So, for one, my background in visual art and theater makes me really into visual storytelling. So, just finding clues visually within a piece to find what's going on. You know, you go into a museum and you see these old paintings of scenes, and you're like, oh, who are these people and what are they doing and why? For me, using that background in the visual art and painting, and also with my theater work, doing gesture, expression, light and sound, all that kind of stuff, married with um, basically getting the viewer involved in the process of the storytelling. So, doing a silent graphic novel means that I'm starting to collaborate with my audience in making the story.
Does it make the story more subjective?
Yeah, because everyone's experiences in life are different. And so, despite my secreted away written narrative in my notebook and all the clues that I have laid out, they will be read differently, and I'm fully aware of that. And so it's interesting when I hear people tell me little bits about what they've seen in my work that differs from what I intended.
Ah, because you're an interdisciplinary artist, I've got to ask you, can you talk me through the tools that you use to create your art?
For Flight 19, it's mainly traditional medium, so like Copic markers on paper and multi-liners, working on an 1117 page that's scanned and then sized down for printing. And I tend to use the Copic markers more in a painterly style instead of just doing the hard cell shading and stuff. I like to try to treat it like painting. I was originally going to do the entire graphic novel as acrylic paintings, and then that seemed like a lot of trouble for composing each layout kind of thing. I also have for the covers, I did those inked on paper and then colored digitally in Photoshop. And then the splash pages within, so there's one per chapter, those are done as full acrylic paintings. So the actual painting's like usually about 20 by 30 inches.
So it's quite a bit in your repertoire, I guess you could say. Do you have a favorite art tool?
For drawing, I have this one very specific mechanical pencil that's my favorite, and I haven't found a replacement for it, so I'm hoping I never lose it. It's a .3, I think it's a Stadler. I'm not sure. It's so old. It's from university days, and like the text is all worn off, but I think that was the brand. And then I just really, really love paint. So that's why I had to include my acrylic painting within the project because it's just kind of so magical to me that I'm pushing goop around and creating some window into a reality.
Great. I read in your bio that you also teach comics and character design classes. So I've got to ask you, what is one tip that you pass along to first-time creators?
That would be finished, not perfect. That's something that I kept having to remind myself through the process. Otherwise, the project would never have gotten done. Sometimes you're doing a lot of the prep, you're thinking about your world building, your character design, getting your skills up to the level you want. But if you keep turning your tires in the prep phase, you'll never get going. So sometimes you just have to jump in and do it, and it'll get better along the way.
I appreciate what you just said, but as a devil's advocate, if you're using paint, you're pretty much committed to that art style. It can't change per se from beginning to end, correct?
I think the style within a book can shift over time. I did this project over 10 years. So if you look at my first prequels and my first chapters, you'll see that the quality of the art increased over the duration of the project. As far as using paint, it's the same as using markers, I suppose.
Right. Well, we've been talking about Flight 19, so I've got to ask you about your next project. Is there anything that you can talk about that's coming along on your drawing pad, so to speak?
Yeah, a couple things in the works. One sort of far in the background that's been mulling in my brain for a while is a more cutesy comic that has words called Starlight Sanctuary. So that would be like a magical animal sanctuary, very wholesome and stuff. But that's actually been put further back for now because my partner, F. David Schultz, he's an author, and he wrote a novel called Crown of Horns, which we published in the spring of 2025. And it's in the same world as Flight 19, but on a different continent. Because when I originally made Flight 19, I made a whole world map and different places and cultures and stuff. So he kind of decided, ooh, I want to do some stories in this Ukrainian-inspired continent, which is my background. I did illustrations for that novel, and he's now well into the sequel. I'm starting to do illustrations for that, and it's probably going to be called Horns of Shadow and Gold, I believe is the title he was going for. And in addition to his sequel novel, he's also written for me a comic that combines our two stories. So characters from his novel are coming to Mephistopolis, which is the main city in my silent graphic novel, and meeting my characters and doing adventures with airships and intrigue and stuff. So yeah, lots of stuff on my plate, and it's going to be all super fun.
Sounds like it, yeah. How about events? Do you have any events planned this year to promote your book, Flight 19?
I've been getting in touch with the local bookstores. So I've got signings coming up at Indigo and Kohl's this month and next month. And I just finished my book launch at Amazing Stories. That was really cool. And Nerdvana is coming up this month at the WDM. So that's a new show locally in Saskatoon. And then still signing up for some other ones, mostly in the Saskatoon area, but I might start carpooling with one of my comic buddies to do some out-of-town ones as well.
So it sounds like you definitely have a lot on the go. So you could provide some direction for people who want to find out more about your current and future plans online. Where should they go?
I have a website, which is audra.balion.ca. So that'll link you to all my different stuff. And then on social medias, you can find me Audra Balion Art on Facebook and Instagram. And I'm trying to get onto Mastodon. And those are pretty much the main ones I'm active on.
Thanks to Audra for the chat. You can discover more about Audra Balion online at audra.balion.ca and on Instagram at Audra Balion Art. And thank you for tuning in to the True North Country Comics podcast. I invite you to visit the True North Country Comics website to listen to even more conversations with creators about making comic books and graphic novels. Also encourage you to subscribe via the website so you'll be notified about new podcast interviews and article posts. This podcast is available wherever podcasts are enjoyed. Please like, follow, and subscribe. You can follow along True North Country Comics on most social media sites. And you're encouraged to send any and all feedback to john@truenorthcountrycomics.com. Thanks for tuning in, and come back soon for another episode. Bye for now. True North Country Comics Podcast is copyright True North Country Comics, copyright 2026.